What's up, baby? So we're gonna try to speed run this one. Um, this is the 1 hour time frame, and I just want you to note the zone that was formed there. I want you to note it's not a great zone, but when we're doing our higher time frame analysis, this was the zone that I drew in. Let me zoom in on the green arrow in a second. I only drew out one. I only drew out one thing today. It was a loss. So we don't need to do any calculations. We can just. We don't need to pop out the Google Sheets. We just know that I freaking lost. The over the 1801 reg channel for the day was just like flat. It was at times like slightly down, but really there's like no reason to keep it in. Yeah, so it finished the day kind of down. And the volume profile is kind of bottom heavy. So that's kind of bearish, right? Like yesterday was top heavy, but closed bearish. It closed way below the volume area. Today was bottom heavy, closed in the volume area. So I mean, but still not ideal. So okay, while I came in late today again, also just being real irresponsible. So this was the interesting part, though, is that even though this wasn't a fantastic demand zone, this one right here, we hit it. We came up a little bit. This is also why you don't like. If you see this wick and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's something I've been doing a lot. That I'm trying to stamp out, unless you fucking put your stop down here, and then it's a problem, right? I wonder what would happen though. But you would actually get a 1-to-1. There's something about the 1-to-1 with what I've been looking at that's like it hits it exactly, and you'll see what I mean in a sec with the one trade that I drew out. But here's the trade that I saw. And yesterday, so you're gonna wait for it to bounce out of there. It breaks this micro high. It doesn't really break this high, so this isn't like the most fantastic move, but it is really strong. And if you kind of draw this like smaller zone from here, pretty strict, doesn't even come close. But if you like get a little loosey goosey with it, the point is like this smaller zone doesn't matter for where it bounced as much as the bigger zone does. And it bounced exactly off of that zone when it came back down. And that's like the higher low that you're looking for. So like if we're on the far edge, you get a bounce, you're like, maybe it's going up. You get a little reaction. You go lower, and then you see big green bar out of the higher time frame demand zone down here. And then you see a few big ones, and you're like, okay, we broke this high. I don't know, there's kind of a micro high there that you broke. So there's definitely some upward conviction. Maybe this demand zone is going to work out. But let's wait for a rejection, and that's where you get it. And that is nothing super solid on the volume profile, but it is kind of like there is like a little bit of a volume shelf right here. And, we're at the bottom of volume. It just tapers off down here. So between the demand zone and there being no volume down here, you could probably take this long and feel pretty good about it. I'm just trying to look at yesterday, because the thing is, yesterday there also wasn't a super duper amount of volume down here either. Like it's kind of a low volume zone here that it taps into. It doesn't even touch this higher volume node. So that seems like a decent place to go along. Retroactive is, hindsight 2020, whatever, one of those sayings. I had been drawing this thing out like this, and then as the reversal played out, I thought maybe just let's draw out a new one. So I drew a new channel. And by the way, let's just for dopamine's sake, let's see what happens if you play that out. The other thing is, if you do that, even though it's bouncing out of the higher time frame, you don't want to do that. Just use that. That's still pretty risky, but it hits your 1-to-1 in like 2 minutes, right? Yeah. You don't know that it's going to do that, but and then also if you hold, that becomes something that you can hold to VWAP. You can hold to this bigger supply zone up here. Where was POC? POC was below VWAP, so yeah, I mean you'll find your targets. You can hold indefinitely, but it definitely became like this was where we had some trouble. This whole time I was just looking for somewhere to get back in long. This kind of looked like a good spot, but this actually might have been a good spot. Right here, because, and like again, kind of agnostic about point of control, but we clearly bounced out of it and then went up. But I think I didn't actually get in because it was starting to range. We don't need any of this shit, actually, for the speed run. So it was starting to form like a range in this beat right here. So I was kind of like, okay, where are we going to get some conviction here? And this actually did make a higher low. Hit the top, made a higher low in VWAP, which it did here. So you're going to be a little careful. But nowhere in there did I see something to get in. But then, when it did leave VWAP, it left this pretty decent zone. And when you're coming down here into that zone, you're at VWAP. You're at a high volume node right here. But I am really conscious about like, I was super conscious about this node maybe providing a little bit of reaction, and then there's POC down there, so we got to be careful. And that's kind of exactly what happened. You got enough of a reaction, and here's where I went wrong. Here's why this turned into a L, because I targeted that high volume node up here, not even thinking about this gap in volume right here. And I feel like I'm always missing this shit. I feel like this is why I'd be like getting in the right trade, and then I get out too soon. So it pretty much just like crosses that gap, and that's all it does. And guess what else? If you just set the 1-to-1, it takes you out, no fucking problem. No problem. So that's kind of like the magic 1-to-1. I don't know what it is, but we're taking it out. So That's why I took it. Went into the afternoon. The uptrend kind of died off. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? But this is just like reinforcing 1-to-1. Don't just look for volume no's. Look for volume gaps and higher time frame analysis. Yeah. So I think that's it. I'm gonna eat that piece of why. I'm gonna do some volume profile analysis just with just looking at price action, just looking at volume gaps, looking at intraday, and I'll let you know if I find anything.